It's crazy. Here comes somebody.
Okay, we are live streaming.
I'll hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, the fact that I got,
I can do that.
I think I'm okay because I have the agenda up, so.
Hey Karen, this is our first meeting live, and one of our members encountered some COVID people. So there's confusion of zooming in and not zooming in, so please.
Okay.
So your show comes down the 13th, huh?
Yeah, it comes down, I guess, the first pieces come down on the 13th, or one on the 12th, but it'll be a slow de-installation. Some things coming down as late as the 30th.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
And we're doing a performance in the park. I really wanted to take advantage of people coming in for the art fairs. So We're doing an artist/opera performance. It's 10 minutes only, but it's near the largest concentration of the sculptures, so that I can get more people in there. It's kind of a pain in my butt now, but it should be good if it doesn't rain.
Has the association been real happy with what the reception you've gotten?
They have. They've been really happy, but they're definitely, they're just sort of moving on to their next thing, like deinstall. It's like, next.
Yeah. The deinstall is not as sexy as the install.
No, it is not.
No, we have the same issues.
Yeah. But it seems like you had, people really enjoyed it as a loop experience. Is that right?
Yeah, it was great. There was just a TV. They just did a TV thing today.
Oh, good.
Which I'll take.
You're going to send me a clip to that if it's possible?
They'll post it to us, and then we'll get it on. We should get it online.
Okay.
But I'm going to try and call Heidi.
What TV are we talking about?
It was on WRDE on the news tonight.
What was?
Coverage about this meeting and about the two pieces that are going to be leaving.
all right. I don't have anybody else in attendees or panelists if you have.
How many members do you have in this committee?
7.
So you have a quorum at 4, so.
Right, we can go forward. We're more like we like to get the volume of people because of all the ideas. Is Barry in?
No. I have in the panelists, me as the host, Karen and Jackie the secretary, and we have 2 attendees, Sharon Dardine and Tim Ritzer, and that's it.
Denise can't join the meeting, and so I'm getting a lot of I can't join the meeting stuff.
Wait, Barry's in.
Okay.
There's Denise.
Denise is in.
Denise, you said you just told me you can't get in the meeting.
She can't hear you.
Can you hear us, Denise? Okay.
All right, I have to promote Barry, so Barry's here. Let me this is being fickle. Okay, Barry's in on.
Okay, Barry's in. That is everybody but Heidi. And she works, so sometimes she's a little late. We'll just keep our eyes out for her. All right, let's call the meeting to order at 6:37. The first live meeting in a long time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, audience. Our first order of business. As we see, we have a kind of a long agenda, but I'm hoping we get some good discussion about some pieces of art that we're going to start a discussion about tonight. So I want to try and get through the old business pretty quickly. The beginning is we have minutes, and the minutes were rewritten from the last two meetings. And so I think that, I'm really good with them. And can I get a motion to approve them? This is the meeting of 5/26 and the meeting of 6:30.
I do have
Any
one point-
corrections?
One point to make on the minutes, Chairman. Bottom of page 3 of the minutes from the June 30th meeting. Apparently, you were going to send Ms. Sandmeyer a copy of all documents being sent to the PRC. She has, at the moment, has not received those.
Okay, that's not a correction to the minutes.
I didn't say it was, I just had a point to
All right,
make.
well, is there any corrections to the minutes? Or, okay, we can talk about that in just a second, but I feel like I need to can I get a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, minutes are approved and seconded. Now, Tony said Sue didn't get a copy of what was sent to the PRC. Janet, you want to respond to that?
I spoke with Anne Marie, I should come up here. I spoke with Anne Marie, and she has the contracts, and Sue, she will get the signed contracts back to you. What else is it that you need?
That's all.
That's all. Okay, she has them, she just has to go through them and sign them. So I will get that to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Great,
Just a notice on the agenda to discuss that a little later. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we had a meeting. I was invited to appear at the Art and Bloom subcommittee, and Andrew came and Janet came, and we had a discussion. I was invited to speak. Oh, there's Barry. Hi, Barry. I was invited to speak about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and I think we had a useful discussion, and one of the points that we talked about in order to increase our interface was to have Tony talk about the Art and Bloom activities and what they're up to as a report on a regular basis to this committee. So, Tony, you are on.
Thank you. Well, obviously, the discussion of the rewritten regulations on the policy on selection, placement, installation, and maintenance of public art on city land was a lengthy discussion. And I mean, I will say...
Excuse me, Janet.
Yes.
It's Jackie. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tony. Janet, I don't think this is recording.
Oh,
Okay, wait a second.
I don't see the
Okay.
recording signal on the screen.
oh yeah, right there.
It did say that it was, thank you.
Okay, good.
Hold on. Yeah, when Janelle turned it on,
Recording
it
in
said it
progress.
was, but thank you for
Okay,
that,
It's in
Jackie.
progress.
Oh, there it is now. I see it. Okay.
Thank you.
It should still be captured by YouTube, right?
It will be, yep.
Okay, Tony.
Okay. So,
I don't hear anything.
you still can't hear anything?
I can.
We can't hear.
Who can't hear? Who said they can't hear anything?
I hear it now. I didn't for a minute, but I do now.
Okay, great.
So I do think that the rewritten policy certainly should simplify matters in comparison to the document that was agreed to in 2017 and as amended in 2018. But I have to say at this point, after having had a discussion with the mayor previously, that I was disappointed that there wasn't somebody from AIB at the meeting to help rewrite this document. And that's all I'm going to say about that, the document and the discussion.
Okay, it's on the agenda. It's on the agenda to discuss the document later.
Yep.
So what's Art and Bloom up to?
So the MOU for building the train station at the back of the library to cover up the
Generator.
Generators and goodness knows what else there, has now been apparently agreed. And so, we are looking forward to that going ahead, and that's going to be probably our next major project. When it will start is still in doubt because, of course, Shell have agreed to build it, and they're incredibly busy. So we wait to see. There are a couple of other projects that we're discussing, but they haven't got to a stage yet where it's worth reporting to PAC.
Okay.
All right, great, so move on. Old business. Canalfront Project is the Weiss project. First of all, any comments or observations anybody want to share about the Weiss project in the last month? I will report that we received a letter from the Overfalls somewhere on the positive influence of this piece of art. And it says, from the perspective of the Overfalls Foundation, the display has been a positive factor. The ship is in the background of a multitude of photographs taken. This is based on a long conversation we had. The site has certainly been a conversation stimulator, which I understand is one of the positives of art. That's from Ray Glick. And it was really nice to hear that, I think, because there was originally some questions about the appropriateness of this and that location and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice that they thought that is very positive, and I thought we'd get that in. Now, the Weiss project is also, we have to get our wind-down schedule and people on task, and this Heidi was involved in a great deal. I'm sorry that she's not here. She's still not checked in, right?
No.
All right. Well, the last that I hear is that the date that that this will come down is going to be on the 18th of September. And it is coming down early that morning. There have been 3 people hired that the artist is paying for to help her carry the stones and the rocks back to the truck.
How many, Glenn?
How many of them?
How many people are accompanying her?
3. So that's 200 rocks. So with her worker, that's 200 rocks per person. I think that we don't know exactly. He's going to be leaving New York at like 6 in the morning, and maybe get here late morning. When we took them off the truck, it didn't take us longer than 2 hours to do that. So I think that we should be totally out of the park that day. One of the things that, so I'm going to put the worker up at our house. We need to have somebody, I think we need to, Heidi is coordinating the workers.
Will the box truck be able to stay there in the Hawk's Nest?
Well, the box truck is not going to sit in Hawk's Nest because the city very kindly lets the box truck park, on a city street for that night.
All right.
And I feel like he will actually, if it goes as fast as I think it could go, he might end up shooting home that night. But the question we have is who's going to...
nonetheless needs to be alerted about said box truck.
Well, yeah, somebody's going to have to be there that morning, and we're going to take this. I found out from Peter Issel today that we can take the pilings out and have the truck just drive straight down the road to it,
Okay.
as opposed to the way we did it last time. So that's going to make it easier. And Rachel can't come because she's due to have a baby the same week.
Ooh.
It's very exciting.
I'm at a wedding that weekend, so I'm out.
Good one, Barry.
I'll still be in England.
Good one.
I can be there.
All right, well, I think that between the two of us, we'll be there. And Heidi is definitely going to be there, so.
Do you know if they need any conveyances, like wheelbarrows or carts, anything like that? Because we could come down with those. I mean, I'm off of Mulberry.
Well, I think at this point, basically, the field like today is very wet because it is a drainage field. But let me put that down as a possible help, and because I think that the best thing to do if we have that many people, I mean, some of these rocks, you don't want to put 3 of them in a wheelbarrow because it's too heavy. So you just carry them over, and she has bins, and she kind of sorts them so the big ones go in some bins, and anyway, and I think they set that up on the inside, so just inside the truck, so just walk up the ramp and drop them where they're supposed to be dropped. It's easier because when we took them off, they were all numbered, and we had to sort through the numbering. But anyway, those are the dates. I kind of have Heidi in charge of that, and I'm assisting, and you're assisting, so I'm going to defer to her about the conveyances. So that is, any other questions about the Weiss project?
30 days after it comes down, we're due to submit a report to the Arts Division.
Okay.
So any statistics or things like this letter from Overfalls, I think, needs to go with that.
Well, we'll be working on that report, so you can, when you get to the point where you need information, just, call or make it up.
Janet?
Looks like Denise might have her hand up.
Carol, will...
Cliff, I can't lift rocks, but I could be a gopher if you need another person.
I think we're really good, Denise, and we certainly don't want you lifting rocks, sweetie. I think it would be, it's not necessary. We have some young artists that are, like the contemporary art group of those guys outside of, DAC is the group. They're outside of Rehoboth. And so...
Well, if you need another body, anyway,
all right.
for something.
Okay, well,
Just going back to what Carol said, so that report needs to be submitted by October 18th, basically?
so now it's Carol, you'll submit that report. I don't think it's that,
It's not that big a deal.
it's not that big a deal. We basically, it's an interesting conversation for next month, which is that for all the hoops, was the money worth it from dealing with the state? And, I think that's a discussion we have to have. The next thing is the menu here is Kate Dodd's project. So the next, that she is not going to be back here until the first week of November. So that is our projected deinstall. However,
Those things hold up to, like, some of these winds that might be...
they've held up very well.
So
They
far,
have.
yeah, they're
All right,
You see it every day.
almost, yeah.
all right.
It's still in good shape. It
There's,
seems to have faded a little bit, which is interesting.
Have
The
they
color-
faded?
But I'm not positive about that, but it seems the colors have shifted a little bit.
I went there 3 times in a row and saw a butterfly on the top. And so I went back again. She said, "You're serious?" I said, "Yeah." So I went back again, and there was the butterfly. So she got a picture. I think that we do have a situation where I'm going to be out of town from like mid-September from later September to mid-October. If there's a big storm at that time, when do you come back from England?
19th of September.
Okay, good, because I leave the 22nd. So Tony, if there's a big storm or something, I think what I'd like to do is ask you, because you knew how it went up, to get a group which would probably
I
include
can just,
Andrew
I can actually put them in a garage on Rhode Island Avenue there, Cliff.
and Ed from the stuff, well,
Will they fit in that garage, you
well, the
think?
Board of Public Works said we can probably use one of their buildings. And it would only be there for a few weeks, because she's going to come down in November anyway and pick them up when she leaves.
Tony, I'll email you myself.
Okay, yeah.
And you've got Ed's email from the park
Talking about
commissioner.
Ed Zikamonski?
No, Essen. What?
Yeah, Ed Dessine, he's the GHP.
Parks and Rec.
He's the
No, I
parks.
don't have his number either.
Okay, he's the parks commissioner
Okay.
for that park that helped put it together too. Remember, he was the.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were the hosses. You should have seen these guys with their sledgehammers out there. It was great.
Same.
When are you going to England now?
September 7th.
Okay, so you'll have it, okay, that's fine, that'll work.
So Tony, when you come back, if there's crazy thing, you
That's
can
fine.
jump in. If
Yep.
it has to be kind of crazy for you to have to do that, but, and then anyway, I'll be back the 19th of October.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on Kate's?
That one, when it does, she's gonna obviously come down and get it, that's the removal basically, is her picking it up. Okay.
Along with, along with our big meeting. I mean, she's going to be a speaker that night.
Okay, good.
If you're leaving the 22nd, are we not having a meeting in September?
I think you can have a meeting without me. I'm not indispensable.
I was just asking for the calendar.
We should put it on the calendar. If there's nothing really going on, we can always
Would you be
cancel
on
it.
Zoom?
I doubt it. I'll be in Austria.
Okay.
So,
Oh, it'd be 12:30 there, it's fine.
Anyway, so unless we wanted to move it to the week earlier and all that stuff, but I don't really think, okay.
I think either cancel it or have it and somebody
Yeah,
act as chair.
you
So
can
we'll see
do it.
what
Right.
you need for the agenda, I think.
Okay, good. Canalfront Park Mosaic project, at this point, we're done with that thing. We've passed everything on to Janet, and I believe that it's under construction, right? So
Did she want to give an update of whether progress on that?
well, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Sue, if you could step up to the podium, please, thank you.
Sure. All 4 artists have started the project, and each project, and one is almost completed, one's about 75% done, and the other 2 are coming along really well.
And I'm glad we worked, like Tony said, I think it was a long process, and hopefully in the future we've made these kinds of things simpler, so appreciate
Yeah,
working
sure.
with it. Good.
Thank you.
And then,
Thank you.
Sue, you'll work with the park commissioners, Rodney for Canalfront, and Ed and Harry for GHP for placement,
Yes,
and Heidi as well. She's
Right.
part of that too, right?
And it was my understanding that I would contact you to contact the park commissioners?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll take care of that, and we'll get a mutually agreeable time, and we'll all take a walk in the park.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
All right, old business D4, the community meeting. I think it's really essential for the purpose of this committee and what we try to do and what we believe our mission is to have a meeting where we talk about the successes or the failures of our last year in business here. I think that there's a lot to be gained by getting public opinion, and there's a lot to be gained by...
What happened? I don't hear anything.
I don't know what happened. But there's a lot to be gained by having a seminar where we again speak to the public and anybody who potentially sometime in the future may want to come before this committee, to have them understand what the committee is and how it functions and why it functions. So the goal we're going to try to do is have sort of a little symposium, which is going to be broken into two parts. We're going to have the artist speak, Kate Dowd, and for you who have heard her, which is many of the people here, she's a really good speaker. She's got a great she's got a great handle of the concept of public art, how it challenges the public and how it functions and what the important parts of it are. I think that she will bring a lot of clarity, and I think by having her talk about it, people might understand a little bit more about where we're coming from. And then I'm thinking about trying to have another speaker to speak to the element of placemaking and design and public space as a unifying and useful, part of a community. And so I think we're having two people, and probably questions and answers, and develop that, and then break into questions and answers, including, what did you hate the most about those rocks in the park? I mean, I think that personally, I've probably had more satisfying talks with people who didn't actually warm up to it than people that liked it. And I find that, the heartfelt comments that were shared have been, touched me and really communicated, and I feel like that's, in many ways, bringing the community together around this experience of experiencing the art, more so than just their opinion of whether they like it or they don't like it. So we're going to focus on that. We're going to try and make it so, people, we said if you don't like it, don't worry, it's coming down. Maybe you like the next one, and I think that we want to make sure that people have that we can learn from their reactions, and also grow this idea that we really are a community that cares about, the fine arts. And so I need a chairman for this.
Well, my problem is that we possibly may be away from October 15th to November 10th. We have a reservation for an Airbnb in Paris. Now, that may all fall apart. So, but I don't want to make a commitment where I might not be here to honor it. So, but if I was absolutely going to be here and we didn't have these reservations, I would say in a minute, yeah, I would definitely do it. So.
Okay, I'll accept that as a yes.
Yeah, but if the time would change, if it wasn't November, I'd be
But to
happy.
host this thing through, you don't have to be here.
Oh, okay, well then sign me up.
Because what we have to do is work on some publicity, getting the word out. We need to pick a room. We need to talk to the speakers. We need to arrange where they're going to stay, and I know Kate can stay with me. So, we can do all the stuff before.
Okay.
The day of, if everything's been done well, there shouldn't be much to do if you've planned it well.
If I have between now and the middle of October, I can do it. Yeah, I'd be happy
Glad
to.
to help you.
Great, okay, thank you.
All right, so
Okay, sign us up.
we have a new committee, yes. Probably, the last place we did it worked out pretty well,
Rollins Center.
the Rollins Center. But there's always the university place, too. We did it in the last time, we did serve wine afterwards.
Okay.
The Net House is also a space that's for the use of nonprofits.
Too small.
Too small? Okay.
First of all,
I hope we can get, 75 people. And we're picking this date because the city council is free that night. And they're all going to put it on their calendars so they don't blow us off like last time.
What's the date for?
It's Wednesday, November 3rd.
I think you're going to have to do a lot of promotion if you want 75 people, because
I agree.
I think it's a great idea, but you have to give people a reason to really want to go there. Is it do they want to interact with the artist?
The difference between now and last time is we have a couple of thousand people following us online. We have this Facebook presence, and we're hooked up with some of the places in town. I think we can do. We may not get 75 people, Barry, but that's what we should shoot for. I'm assuming that everybody from Art and Bloom would want to be there, and probably Lewis and Bloom too, if they're going to be promoting projects. I mean, it makes sense to have them involved in at least understanding what we're trying to do. So I'm hoping they'll come.
I think it'll be fun. I think if we promote it correctly, I think 75 people is very possible, very doable.
Good.
So if I can just make one comment. First of all, I don't know what the capacity of the Rollins Center is. I think certainly 75 people, but if we're still doing social distancing, we won't be able to get 75 people in there. And when we hold meetings at the Rollins Center, just like here, we have the seats separated 3 feet. So that's one thing. And if there's consideration of having any food or beverages, right now, the city is not allowing it because they just made major improvements and additions to the streaming equipment there. So I think that might be on a council agenda, is to make a determination on what they'll permit over there. So just please keep those 2 things in mind, and I will convey that to you, Nancy, as I get clarity on it.
Okay.
Well, you can definitely come through with 2 or 3. What's the place out of the university?
The Verdon Center?
Verdon Center. That's an option too.
Yeah.
And they don't have a Zarina of protocol there.
And, well,
Did I just have my Zarina hat on?
Tiara, my dear, tiara.
Are we tied to the date? I mean, is this something that we would want to move to this, I don't know what the timing is, but would we want to move it to the spring so that we could do it outside and not have to worry about the COVID protocols?
I would suggest that I'd like to have it while the impressions are fresh.
Okay.
And before we actually make decisions about what we're doing next year, the final decisions. But that's a really good idea, and if we cancel it, which we could if COVID gets really bad, we will, then we'll move it to the spring, and Kate can just come back, or whatever.
She's great.
So, great, that's a good thing. Okay, new business. The first thing we want to talk about real quickly, we've gone through this. You guys have seen the modifications on the Public Art Committee. I have this striped thing. The changes were made to effect 3 major changes. One is to allow the city council to excuse itself from more minutia than they already get involved in, and so we have a clause in there that allows, if we recommend something and then Janet, whoever holds Janet's job, feels this has a minor impact, then she can approve it and does not have to go to city council. That was the number 1. Number 2, we wanted to be able to have a broader reach to find as many professional people as we can to serve in this committee, and we have eliminated one of requirements for an Art and Bloom or Lewis and Bloom person and we have also eliminated, just made the requirement that the majority of the people on the committee are Lewis residents, as opposed to the 2 or 3. And that gives us a lot broader, I mean, the question was raised, why would you do this? And I'm going, there's 20,000 people in the outlying community that could help us, and we have Art and Bloom was a lot smaller group to choose from. So I thought, in terms of putting our best effort forward, we want to have the best choice of.
It also doesn't preclude that person from being a member of Art and Bloom. Ultimately, it's the mayor's choice.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
So,
But I mean, for instance, in Cliff's case, he has joined Lewis in Bloom. So
He's
does
meeting
that
with-
mean
exactly.
that
That's
he
why in my mind,
qualifies as the
yeah.
one member?
well, exactly. So that's why in my mind, essentially, you leave it up to the mayor to choose who is the best candidate at the end of the day, regardless. And if they are, rather than filling quotas, so to speak.
And I got on when there was a 2-member requirement.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so
But I don't want, I'm just interested to know whether that could happen, and if it could happen, I would be absolutely against it.
okay. Okay. For that,
No, I don't. I mean,
we don't know what can happen, so we just don't know. The other thing, the third part was to increase to do an application. And the application was very vague, and we had a lot of cross-referencing of requirements on appendices that were not on the application, and there was some confusion. So the application has been cleaned up, and it also has included some questions on the application that are more relevant to how we're looking at the public art as a process. And so, we're asking the people to apply to defend their work, and I think that's always a good thing. And these are questions that have come from other committees and museums and people that have these sort of the same situations that they have to deal with. So those are the 3 basic changes, and I'm sure everybody saw them, and that was done. The next, any questions on that? Any other questions or comments? The bike rack proposal for 3rd Street.
yeah, that's what I was hoping Heidi would be here. I'm not sure if it's worth going, because I was hopeful that she would have an estimate at this point, but I did get confirmation from Anne Marie that they do. A typical bike rack is a few $100s. Obviously, the city would be able to contribute something, she said, even potentially above that. But the hope would be then that we could get this on the Bike and Ped Committee, and maybe they could chip in and so on, but without an estimate. I know that...
So at this point, we are waiting for a
an estimate. I think she's...
Have you guys
talking-
decided on what you would want to put there?
Well, I think there was some memories that came across, but if the makeup of the committee would like to
The silhouette?
maybe be reviewed.
Are you talking about the silhouette
I
project?
think that had the one of like kind of was like the downtown silhouettes was the one that the committee, I think, ultimately said they liked.
Okay, at this point,
It's
I
up to
think
you guys. I mean,
there was the idea of going with a system that had, for big bike racks, silhouette that would feature the skyline of Lewis, with the idea that in particular areas and corners, if we did a bike rack there, you might pick up a local business or a local building and potentially hit up the owner of it for funding. And that's kind of was a general discussion, but that's where you are, that's what
Yeah, and the update is that we have essentially secured a spot on 3rd Street. There's a public lot on 3rd Street that they've agreed to put, to set aside for a bike rack. Because the Bike and Ped Committee was saying, look, you can get 12 bikes potentially in one space for a car. It's just a good way to efficiently get more people, not jam up as much parking. And I think, we talked about the fact that Lewis, we wanted to bring some funkiness to the town. So it'd be cool to have an artistic-looking bike rack, and maybe it'll start a trend that way. And frankly, they'll be more durable. One thing I've noticed about, for example, the ones in Mary Vessel's Park, they sometimes get the screws even, will come out, and it becomes like you're worried about your tire might sort of get poked. So, at the end of the day, they might be more durable if they're made of aluminum or something. Or, I'm not sure what Heidi was talking to. She was also hoping to get it done locally here.
Well, she found somebody, so I have to call Heidi and have her to get an estimate, and just give the estimate to you. You don't really need us at that anymore, if we all like that idea, right? You give me an estimate, and then it goes back to the bike committee or whatever, and then you fund it.
We're on 3rd Street.
So where the Masonic building is, it's essentially on that back side there. There's a very narrow lot sort of between there and Heirloom.
Right.
There. It's got about 12 spots in it probably, I think.
You're going to lose a parking space?
We are, but we'll see, Yeah.
It gives you political.
We'll just raise the rates, We'll make up for everything rates. But I do think, I've been there myself, and the bike racks in front of half full will be full.
Okay.
Yeah, so they need,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good. Let's move on, which is the first discussion about possible next year exhibitions. Karen,
Yes.
you've been so kind to be here and wait for this moment.
All right, it's a little hard to hear you guys, so.
And we would be able to share, just for the benefit of all of us and the people online. Okay, good.
I mean, the overview is, at this point, we're going to be looking at some very generalized ideas. These are not ideas that are specifically proposed. These are ideas where we might ask Karin to ask these people. And she's going to sort of judge our feeling about this. So this is not at this point I love it or hate it so much as, that might work, or that really won't work. There's one that's going to come up that will be that kind of a question. But I think that, we got to get Karin lined up so she can go to these people and see what she can negotiate. And I feel this year was very, very successful having two pieces. Because we had the idea of a passageway from one to the next, and we had our little path. And we have, by the way, we have added the Art and Bloom stuff to our map. They requested it. And so we're really just looking at some ideas based on some work, like we said earlier, that Karin came up with. A lot of it's from the Riverside Project. So without any further ado, Karin, you want to walk us through what you're thinking?
Okay, well, I'm not sure if you're showing anything.
Yes, I can show what.
Okay.
But I'm gonna preface it with I'm gonna speak before you show for a minute, just so
Right.
you don't think that the few things that you have there are, Cliff asked me, are there any things from Riverside? And so I sent him some things, and then there's another group of people here that do art in Harlem, and I sent him something from that. But this coming weekend, I'm going to what's called the Upstate Art Weekend. And it's like 61 studios, farms, exhibitions, a lot of outdoor work. So I don't want you to get like totally wedded to what you see, because I'm going to be, and I have more to show. I just wanted to, I knew you had a meeting coming up, and I wanted to sort of get the ball rolling and see, hear about what you thought the last time and see how you respond. And also to say, and I know we all love Canalfront Park, it is beautiful, but one of the ways when you talk about educating people with public art and different things is that sometimes public art really makes people look at a spot they never thought possible was, like I have a piece in Riverside Park on a big rock boulder. You can't even get to it, but it really takes people by surprise. And it doesn't just have to be in the middle of a plaza or in the middle of a park, and there's so many possibilities. So as you guys grow your program, I also want you to think, and as I show you artwork, I also want you to be thinking how you can show people, because I know one of your mandates is education, that there's, you know, so much more to public art than just a piece in the middle of the field. That being said, you can put things, images up, and I can speak.
Just give me a minute. Well, it won't take a minute, just,
Okay.
all right.
By the way, I saw most of that whole installation. I rode my bike.
Yeah, you wrote that, and I was like, okay, thank you for calling me up and saying, like, hey, come meet me. I would have come out. I live on Riverside Park, so,
Oh, you do?
yeah.
Oh, well.
So, well, I'm really happy you saw it and that you took a bike and did that. Was there anything you really liked?
Well, the first, it was so interesting. I sent Cliff a picture. There were two ducks that kind of decided
Yeah,
they
that
were
was
going to rest in that first one with the leaves on it.
Oh, yeah, the geese love that piece.
Yes. And I also like the one that was a different colored plastic,
Yeah.
orange and a
Yeah.
white piece that was really interesting.
You guys showed that. You presented that last year at one of your meetings, but we sort of showed ones that were hanging.
Right.
And it is, you know, it's a nail biter. It's so beautiful, and luckily, knock on wood, it has stayed there. But it's a nail biter in terms of, like, is someone just going to go take
Push it
that?
up. Yeah, or push it over.
Yeah, it's anchored, but not, you know, anybody could really pick it up.
Are you all able to see this online?
If you have images there, I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go, okay.
Can you see
This
it?
is a piece we had in Riverside, and I think Cliff showed it to you guys last year.
Always-
And it's Letha Wilson, and Cliff knows Letha. And it's going into storage, so it, you know, I don't know, budget-wise, it exists as a, she doesn't have to make it. There's transportation because it's steel and it's not light, but it comes, it's modular, so it comes in 3 pieces. And she had a concrete pad for it, which I think was necessary. So that's something.
She has her own concrete pad?
It's photos printed on steel. And there's photo on the back of it too. So the front is Hawaii, and I think the back is California. And so the front are leaves in Hawaii, and the back are big boulders from California, or big orangey rocks. And it patinas over time, the metal, and it also it had the feeling of looking like a sailboat against the water. And it was a real piece you really walked around.
There was, I think you sent us a video where you walked around.
I
and
sent
that
you a
was,
video.
That was
And
very
then, I mean,
moving.
it's been photographed a lot. If you know, I can send you many versions and angles. That's the one thing we have when a piece already exists, is that it's not, like what I had sent you before of this piece was more like a mock-up, like a cardboard piece, and it's not very sexy or exciting to see a cardboard piece when you can actually see the real thing. So
And what's the height of this piece?
it's 8 feet.
8 feet, okay, thanks.
And Karen, I'd like to go back to Cliff's comment just now. Does she have a concrete base that she brings, or does one have to be
It
put
would have
down?
to be poured, because this concrete base, in order to get it out, will have to be like hacked and broken up, and Riverside Park doesn't just,
Carol, you
you know,
can do
get rid of
that.
it. It's like becomes rubble.
Well, Tony's really good with a sledgehammer.
So,
We would have to
I'm
put a
thinking,
concrete base down.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, these are the things, and I don't know, these are the things where I don't know who, you know, she doesn't pour the concrete base.
Right.
So we talked about this way back when, where we were going to put in the tower.
I think Anne Marie said the streets department could do it. Yeah.
So does anybody find something, I'm not saying that we have to love it, does anybody find anything really super objectionable to pursuing this piece as something might want to consider?
I can't recall, what is it, like 8 feet tall or 10?
It's 8 feet tall. And we're not saying where we're going to consider it for. We're just going to try and get a big list of stuff and then go out and find places.
You know, you can talk after, or you guys can, you ranked things before, and you can just say, you know, pursue this one, pursue that one, and just to get a price and more, you know, more information.
Well, we're not going to go too far into it because what you just said earlier about going and spending a whole bunch more.
I'm going to send more.
But
So-
I did say that we wanted to start the process, so this is something we'll
Yeah.
look at. What's the next picture we got? Is the bigger one of that? Do you have the bigger one of that, or is this the only one you posted?
No, I have from the other angle.
Yeah, that was a much better picture.
All right, hold on.
This gives you the scale.
This would be an
The
example of
Doodah
one
Parade.
that would need to go before council.
That parade.
So,
I love her.
So this was not in Riverside Park. This, my friend Connie Lee, who curates in Harlem, and I haven't actually even seen this piece yet. She's going to give me a tour after Labor Day.
Right.
It's on view through April 22nd in Manhattan. It's gotten, you know, very nice feedback. The artist's name is Zach Landsberg. I don't know a single thing about what it would entail to move or bring this piece, but Cliff and I were talking about, you know,
What's it made of?
Yeah, I think we lost her.
work as well. And so, you know, I thought,
wait, Karen, go back to Cliff and I were talking about, because then you cut out.
oh, wait, what did I cut out on?
You said Cliff and I were talking about,
Oh.
And then it was
I
censored.
talking about not just presenting you abstract work, but also presenting figurative work.
Right.
And so I thought of this as just an example. People, you know, kind of lay down next to it and, posed over it. It had a nice response. I don't know a lot about the logistics in any way.
so does this guy, I mean, I saw he had a big piece that was like a piñata, but that was an indoor piece. Does he have other objects that you would, or are you thinking about this one specifically?
The reason, you know, this is how, rather than call him and go, hey, what do you have? Okay, I'm not interested. I wanted to gauge just what everybody's response was before I,
What's it made out of, Karen?
yes,
What's it made out of? Paper
I don't
mache?
know.
Paper mache?
I should know, but I'm not actually sure.
Okay. Carol, what do you think?
I'll tell you in a minute, but keep going.
Cool?
This would definitely fall in the category of one that would probably need to go before council, given the size and the,
Yeah.
The size is no bigger than the one
it's
that's there.
also, I'm not saying I don't
So
like
why don't
it,
you
it's
say
also
what-
making, it is definitely.
Why don't you say what you really mean and then stop talking around it?
It's definitely making a political statement, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with it,
Oh.
I actually kind of like it, so,
Well, what's the political statement?
that maybe liberty is taking a rest.
You know, I didn't think about it that way.
Well,
I never thought about it that way.
all the reviews and the write-ups to see, you know, what people said about this. I actually have a nice little. I'm looking for the material right now. Sorry, so if you can't see me or I'm tilting the phone.
I'm curious about the dimensions of it, because it looks,
It's no bigger than the stones that we have out there now.
really?
Yeah. There was a guy standing next to it.
It's coated in it's plaster resin.
Well, to the earlier point, maybe this would be an interesting one on Lewis Beach, you just staring at the sunsets.
Lewis Beach, wouldn't it?
Yeah, cool.
Finished with copper paint and an oxidizing acid. The
Nice.
patina mimics the actual Statue of Liberty. The pose of the Buddha laying down is not just about death,
it's
but an
an
illustration
Buddha.
of one stage. Wait, Is this really
Bangkok
it?
Buddha.
Path of Enlightenment. I'll send you this article.
Well, send us the article. Now,
Everything.
I mean,
There's a million art critics out there.
but I mean, I totally respect what you said, Andrew, and there's a lot of great art out there, and we don't need to unnecessarily push buttons. If you think this is really a political problem, we can avoid political problems.
I'm just saying.
But
like,
think about that, and if you think it really is, we should probably just avoid it.
Why?
Because we don't need that kind of we don't need that, we don't,
Anyway, we'll see. I'll poke around.
It's a good conversation for later.
As well.
But
what, Karen?
I'll poke around and see if if it's all political or what it is,
Yeah, I'm, not that I would personally have any problems with it, but we're trying to,
No, and I interpret it that way. You might, like you said, maybe, yeah, you could interpret it as something achieving Zen. Maybe, people look at it in different ways.
well, this is what happens when we get, the representation large stuff, it's so weird, that's why people,
Andrew, I think you raise an interesting
It's
point.
either kitschy or coy or cute or politic. It's not the narrative, the figurative work.
I don't think we
unless
should
you're doing
necessarily avoid it.
a fish or a boat,
Say that again, Karen? I didn't hear you,
It's a
Karen.
little harder, but I'm looking
Oh, you said the figurative work is harder, okay.
a little bit, but only because people can really focus on the meaning instead of what they want to bring to it.
Yeah, I think we want to, I think we want to pick our fights, and if you think this is a fight, then this is what I would not want to
I think you need a sense of
pick.
humor.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, I think, Andrew, because does anything that PAC decides to place in a public park have to be put to council for agreement?
No, that's not what it says.
Well, that's my point.
It's something that's impactful. I think that's why the process is good in the sense of if we feel this is the kind of conversation that maybe we can have.
All right,
I think it makes life, how can I put this? I don't think it helps where Art in Bloom is trying to do something and they have to go through this whole process for documentation, but when PAC decides they want to put something somewhere, or we want to put something somewhere, we don't have to do that.
okay, I hear you, Tony, but wait a second, we're getting off subject. Let's not go to that subject.
We're not discussing policy.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss the Art and Bloom
I
thing
want to
right
look at
now.
art and not discuss this.
So let's stay focused on looking at our pieces.
Okay.
We can have that debate another time, but we're off subject. So let's look at the next. So was there anybody that's going to, you want to put up a red flag and say this one isn't
That's
it?
what I'm saying.
Barry, what do you think?
I wouldn't, I like it.
Okay.
It's interesting.
I think we saw the Bangkok Buddha, the reclining Buddha, which
Right.
that was immediately what I thought of, so
Right.
totally different read on
Personally,
it.
I saw
I've seen the Bangkok Buddha, it's pretty awesome.
They always have a Statue of Liberty in the parade.
Okay, well, let's move on then.
You guys know that you're successful when you provoke to some degree. I know you don't want to have fights or have to deal with like a million conversations, but it is what
skip on the-
you'll remember.
It may not be in the right order.
Do what?
I thought we may have skipped one.
Well, we only have two to look at.
Right down.
Oh, I see.
I don't know how Janine put them up. I
Fair
don't know
enough.
that she put them up in the order that we
Okay.
got them on the agenda, so.
Okay, so we did look at this guy a while back, and then Karen, this was really successful in your, again, it's like anything else. I think, I didn't understand Letha's piece until I saw the video walking around it. So,
Yeah, it was a successful piece. The New York Times focused on it. This is like this mashup of archaeology and popular culture. They're, I could talk to him about if somebody like objected in particular to the idea of it being Simpsons. He's done things with like I mean, I'll show you his bronzes. Unfortunately, his bronzes are only 12 inches, so that will not work for Lewis, Delaware. But it will give you an idea of it, and I can, if there's any interest and you say, but, we don't love it, the Simpsons aspect, I'll see what he's
I didn't
doing.
really like, I saw it, I didn't really like it. It was kind of small. It just didn't impress me.
It was small. It was definitely small. And
It's only about 3 feet high or something like that, or
it's
4.
about 48 inches, I think. And I think originally the idea being that we would do, 4 or 5, kind of, could do that in Canalfront Park. But
So this is the kind of piece that might look good along the bike path or
Yes.
in a smaller underneath trees, in a, tucked away. I don't, we can't think of this piece as being like out in Canalfront Park, standing out on its own, but.
I don't think so. I mean, from what I saw of it.
Is anybody really excited about this? Because it'd be helpful to Karin if we just said, nah, let's not worry about this one.
This one's probably my least favorite.
Okay, Karin, we got to pass on this one.
okay.
Great. It's called Progress.
All right.
And there's one more we have to look at, or is that it?
No, I've got a couple more here. Unless
Do. There's the DeWitt Godfrey. I can't think of what else.
No, keep going. This one,
Looks like an Easter egg hunt.
I don't know where that one came from, sorry.
Get rid of it.
Sorry, Cliff.
The honey.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one's interesting.
Now,
But you know what? Let me see if the last picture is a larger picture of this.
There's about 3 pictures of it, I think.
Yeah, let me just.
but she may not have added them all. This is DeWitt Godfrey. I've seen one of these pieces
Check
in person.
Check if you like that one better.
Sure. Can you just make that picture bigger?
That picture you're looking
Look,
at may
I
actually
wasn't
be
on
a
AV team
rendering,
and
a
how-
Okay, I mean, I'm just on that screen. No,
I can't.
okay.
but it's
Go ahead,
quite
Karin.
accurate.
Let me start again, Karin, so we can hear you.
The picture that's on the screen right now may actually be a Photoshop rendering of it before he put it together.
Oh, you want me to go back to the other one?
It doesn't, I mean, look, it's incredibly accurate. So, I mean, look, his work there, it was photographed so many times. I have, many different views and angles to send you if it's, but let me just say something about his work so you don't have to fixate on exactly this image. It's modular, so he creates a different design for a different location, for the most part. I mean, he can sandwich it in between trees, and it can be like a single level. That's what he has at the De Cordova. Did you see that at the De Cordova when you went, Cliff?
I did. It sort of rolled down the hill, and it was, I
Yeah,
would
it
guess
goes down
that
the hill.
thing was
A lot of
80
people
feet
think
long.
like have their wedding pictures in there.
And I think that if
It's
he,
410 steel, which is the same steel that Letha Wilson's, the first piece we looked at is, but it's much more, there's like a squishiness to it, like it almost moves a little bit. And he said the movement actually helps people from not climbing on it because they're like, oh, it's going to move. It moves. But I mean, people put their dogs in it and photographed it. Someone did yoga in one of the circles and photographed it. Millions of group photos with like faces in the circles, and they photographed it. I did sort of mention it to him because I did ask him about this last year. He thinks about his time and what pieces he has to be able to put together. And so, if you were interested, I mean, it's certainly a possibility.
Karin, this looks like another piece that needs some sort of a concrete base with, and the bottom pieces are bolted to,
He bolted
Is that
it
correct?
to the earth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no concrete base.
wow.
Now, he came in on a monstrous truck. So if you have a place like Canalfront Park where you can't put a vehicle, I'm not sure. That's something definitely need to know in advance. It may not be, he has going to have a vehicle that pulls up pretty damn close. And then well, these are the questions that we would want to ask in advance, and as you discuss what place.
I thought I saw versions of this that were smaller, like
There are.
between a couple of trees.
Karen told me that he actually has these units and he assembles them in place for each exhibition, so it comes out a little different each time, and he can change the scale. But in talking to Peter Issel, this is like 15 feet tall. So one of the things that they thought about in the park was the nature of mass, and he liked the idea of things that drew people into coming down to see it. He said, if we put something in the park, it should be something that draws people to the park, that encourages them to walk down and walk through, and that can be seen. So, this would be pretty substantial if that's where we went, and also it'd be pretty expensive, and we'd have to think about whether we want to put all our budget in this, or whether we can get some other support, and whether we commit to just one piece versus 4 pieces. But I'd love to pursue it. The piece I saw was really cool and looked sort of nothing like this.
Lost you.
Can I just make an observation? Karen, when I heard you talking about people really interacting with the piece, that is appealing to me. My concern from the city perspective is if somebody is interacting with it, like doing yoga, and gets hurt, there's a potential liability.
That's definitely,
So I put that out there just for something for the committee to think of. At first, when I saw it, I thought, well, it's kind of industrial for the area, but then Karen, when you talked about the interaction, I liked that, and now I have the city hat on, and I'm saying potential liability, so just a comment.
Well, the one I saw, people had been sitting on it, using it, had actually worn away stuff. It is rolled steel. It's not flimsy, but I feel like that's got to be a consideration on
Always a
anything.
consideration with anything
But I
outside.
kind of felt I'm probably a lot safer with this than the basalt rocks that are.
Oh, really? Well, I
They're
think
sharp.
because of the
Those are sharp pieces of.
around the rocks.
Those are sharp pieces of broken glass that anybody gets on can slice their hands pretty easily.
The setting of that, like kind of in a very specific area, like this is right along a path, and there's nothing that has a barrier around it like we do with the rocks.
Right. Well, he might do a whole different structure
Yeah,
than this too.
exactly.
So,
Just,
but we'll definitely have to keep that in mind for
yeah,
sure.
food for thought.
But is everybody okay if we pursue looking at this guy for a while?
Absolutely.
Good, Karen. It's 3 for 4.
All right.
So you're going to go off this weekend and look at a whole bunch more?
Yep, I'm going to see a lot of public art, actually, so
Good.
that is a good thing. And what would help me is a little bit of, I can't remember when we decided by last year, like a little bit of we want to have seen all there is to see by X date and decide by Y date and a little schedule. That could help me.
Well, what we decided to try to do last year, which worked okay, was we decided that we would have this chosen by the end of December, and which means we have 2 months to assemble and discuss and keep moving. And one of the things.
Did we, Cliff? Did we have it decided by the end of December last year?
First week in January, yeah.
Okay.
And because I know, and each, and every artist has their own timeline. So even that may not be fast enough for some people, and it could be, other people wouldn't care if you call them in. But if you really want to line up something that you like, and especially if it needs to be modified, you want to give them as much notice as you can.
Right. And what about installation? What is ideal for you guys?
Ideal for what?
Rachel did hers early because she needed to, and then we ended up doing Kate as a second. So what was optimal for you? And if you do two things, or, I mean, is the goal to make on Memorial Day weekend? Give me something there.
Optimal time, as early as possible. I mean, going in April was great for the city, because, I mean, that was fine, but we definitely want to run through September. And so, you know, and I believe that, like, if an artist has something coming down in June, and it gets here in June because it's going to move directly here, that's just part of the negotiation. Will that be good enough? But I definitely would like to have everything here from Memorial Day through Labor Day, and earlier the better. Because early is a lot easier to work with. Because once you get June, the park's busy and it's harder.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's April, May, June.
Denise has
I just want to throw something out. Karen had mentioned earlier about location and doing something other than in Canalfront Park, and I'd love to see us go in that direction.
Well, we'd love to hear your recommendations for locations. So all you have to do is bring us a list of new
Maybe along the
places.
trail, maybe near Stango Park, where it crosses Kings Highway. I don't know what could be there, but just some other place. One of the things, I don't like the location of Katie Dodd's piece in the park. I'd like it to be somewhere else where it was more visible. But I liked the fact that Canalfront Park gets a lot of attention anyway. So I think if we can do something elsewhere, it's good for us.
Well, you bring up a good point about the location of Kate's piece, because I've heard both points of view. One is that I really, I wanted it to be closer because I didn't want to have to walk all the way down there. And the other one is like, oh my God, I was so surprised. And you walk around a corner, the trees are hiding, and then there's the reveal. So you're getting that magic moment. You're getting that, and even though you know it's going to be there, you don't have a chance to adapt to it when it's not visible from so far away. So I mean, that's a really positive thing too.
I did hear, excuse me. I did hear
Do you want to bring up, and you don't have to, but I sort of mentioned that I would love the idea of a more like a storefront, if that ever became available.
Right. I think the stores are all full. We talked about storefront windows. I think that at this point, for next year, in talking, we kind of want to do similar to what we did last year at this point. I feel like if we wanted to do, there are some stores that I think we could do an art installation in their windows, but I'm not sure it's going to be seen as a public art event in the tiny little town that this is. But we have a map on our website with potential locations for art pieces. And we can look at it. Karen, you and I, we visited all these places when you were down here last.
I know, but
And I find that, and I know Ted has a very specific idea where he would like to see a walking sculpture garden emerge from. We had a conversation. In the conversation that we had with Art and Bloom, I was encouraging them to take the responsibility of a permanent, sculpture area, and that if they want to put a permanent piece of sculpture, we could bring in some temporary pieces, which is what we do, to kind of get the buzz going in those places. So, I don't know whether you've done anything since we talked about that, Tony, but I think if that committee has moved forward with anything, but we really feel we have some limitations, and right now we're selling this message and we're staying on task, and the message is that, art is fun to look at and discuss. Art becomes part of a whole community when the community is engaging in it. So I don't want to get, if I was doing art for a more permanent situation, we don't want to make it too hard to find, like, Denise was saying.
I think throughout the trail, this area by Schley Lot potentially where you could at least have, because the mural's still there, so at least then there's potentially a connection between your pieces on that side of town. If there's a, I mean, it will also potentially depend on the piece, right? If it looks somewhat industrial, maybe it would go well in a spot like that down there. But
Can I just say one more thing about the Dodd, too? Just, Denise, to your point, I actually live right next to Blockhouse Pond on the park perimeter, and I can see the path. And I think a lot more people are seeing the sculpture than we are aware of. There are people there all day long going around the path. A lot of the medical staff from BV go and walk the path around the pond. People are always walking their dogs there, and I can actually see them from my backyard. And so I wander over there quite often and just to see what's going on, and there's kids rolling around inside of it. So I think it's getting more visibility than than you might first think, just because it seems
I think
remote.
the signs have helped. I know a couple of people, when it first went up, who went and looked for it and couldn't find it. And that's why the signage
would
has
wanna
helped.
be a
But
partner.
even if it were a little bit
There's
closer,
that good
it's hard
grassy area
to see
right
from
there.
the farmer's market. I mean, it's history, but I think we can learn something from it. I like the idea of people being surprised by artwork. I certainly don't want to hide anything, but I think we could have done a little bit better with the location. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, gotcha. Barry? You've really been quiet tonight.
Not feeling well.
Are you feeling okay?
I'm fine.
Well, that's good.
All right. I think we're making some progress. If we meet next month, we'll have some more stuff to talk about. Maybe any information that Karin sends to me, I will send on to you right away in terms of pictures and stuff like that. My list here is that Carol's going to take care of the grant. Tony's going to be the backup decommission group together.
Only for the one in the Cape Dodd one, not for the other one.
And the what?
The Cape Dodd one.
Just for the Cape Dodd one. I can't
Oh, yeah.
have anything to do with the other one.
No, it's Kate. Yeah, just Kate's.
Yeah.
That'll all be gone. We got that.
Right.
are you in close enough proximity to see and?
I
Is
can't
that
see
what
the
you said?
sculpture, but I can see the pond and the
Okay, so you would be able to see if something's happening to it. Okay, great.
I walk my dog over there like a number of times a day, so, yeah. I feel very just protective of it.
So you're going to start on the planning for the
Yeah.
event, and I can give you some background on what we did
Yeah,
last
please.
time. And
I'm happy to help you out with that.
Great, thank you.
Good,
Maybe that'll help I can
good.
get.
And then, Denise, you want to come back with some ideas of different locations where we can put art?
Do I want to come up with some ideas?
Yes? Specific ideas, not general ideas.
Specific ideas. I guess, yeah, sure.
I mean,
Well, we could revisit what we did.
you can start with the map on our website.
We kind of already did that, didn't we?
We did.
What I'm saying, we all picked out parts of the.
Well, but we can look a little deeper. Now we're learning a little more. We know a little more how to look.
Well, just one idea that came to me, looking at the last artist, if he did something vertical, there's still a spot by BB, and if they'd like to fund that, it could, it could be in that lawn area, and it's in between the main entrance and what used to be the emergency entrance. Well, it is the emergency entrance and the main entrance. But I just think there are places around town where you could be surprised by art, or, oh, that's interesting. That I'll be happy to come up with some ideas.
Okay, good. And, it's our focus just for the next year to put up two more interesting things, maybe more, maybe less, and just keep the dialogue going. And then after next year, when the third year is up, I think that's when we decide where we're really going to go with this, having art in Lewis. And so we're going to keep up the good work. And I'll tell you, it is real. I mean, the number of followers and the Instagram people and the Facebook stuff, when the comments we get back, people, Lewis is getting an image of having something that's appropriate, and it's being driven by younger viewers, not older viewers, and I think that when the lady was doing the TV thing this afternoon, she said, well, I came down here for my sister's bachelorette party, and we all hung around the sculpture, and we took different pictures, and we all used it to frame things, and it was so beautiful. It was the later of the night, and they were just using this piece of sculpture as an inspiration for artistic expression of their own while they were having a few drinks in Lewis. So I think that it's a wonderful, and I think that's if people are using it, it's out there and they're using it, I can't think of anything better to be able to say about it. So, is there any public comments that people wanted to make? Who's still?
Hold on, there's somebody in the chat.
I think it's just Karen signing off.
Yeah, no, that was Karen signing off. Nope, there's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Nobody's hands up? I was told I wasn't responsive to that. Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
All in favor?
Good.
To the bar. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming.